Captain Midnight.
Conan O'Brien's Clueless Gamer is the perfect 2010s talk show segment. It felt at home on TBS, where Conan's show was at the time, but more importantly, it traveled to YouTube incredibly well, hitting its stride just as Let's Plays were really getting huge. And Conan did not arrive with the bare minimum knowledge of games that even the youngest Let's Players had. He didn't love games, he didn't like them, he describes himself as contemptuous of them, none of which seems like a great basis for making video game content. But this is Conan, and his ability to riff on literally anything made these not just watchable, but some of the best gaming videos out there. I've always loved Clueless Gamer, I know I'm not alone in that, so I think it'll be fun to dig into its long history, its creation, its highs, and some of its lows. This is one of the best recurring talk show segments ever, and even though it's very goofy and very light, I think it deserves some analysis. Hopefully you'll stick around for that, and if you like this video and would like to see more but haven't subscribed yet, now could be the time. So, unsurprisingly for someone who doesn't care about video games at all, before Clueless Gamer, he hadn't done much in the way of gaming content. There's stuff like his interview with Ray Liotta, where they touch on his role in Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and it's entertaining, but it's also basically two guys who know very little about games talking over the novelty of Liotta starring in a huge title. That's really just normal celebrity interview stuff. The real precursor to Clueless Gamer happened in 2007. Back when no one, 8-year-olds, grandmas, or Conan and his staff could resist the lure of Wii Sports. He had tennis legend Serena Williams on the show, so it just made sense. Conan popped off his suit and they played each other on the big screen in glorious 480p.
Okay. All right, check it out, because here comes the master! Huh? Ah!
This doesn't feature a lot of the things we've come to associate with Clueless Gamer though. He doesn't talk about the game itself, almost at all, and he doesn't have to deal with a controller that baffles him. It's mostly just about the novelty of him beating Serena at a tennis game. But there is one really important moment here. After they grab their Wiimotes, Conan is clearly pretty intimidated by the Wii Sports pause menu. I mean, look at this thing, who wouldn't be? And calls for some tech support. And Aaron Blayout runs out to unpause the game and explain who's serving. It does not feel like an important moment at all, but it really is the most notable part of the whole thing in retrospect. And it is definitely not like they'd start Clueless Gamer the next week or anything. It would actually be 5 years before the segment actually kicked off. Now he was on TBS instead of NBC. And I think Clueless Gamer started as really an afterthought, a way to do an entertaining sponsorship to help the show's budget. That's why it didn't kick off with Skyrim, Dishonored, or any other great title from the time. No, its origins were a lot more humble. The first up was Michael Phelps' Push the Limit, a shovelware title for the Xbox's Kinect device that almost no one remembers and which IGN did not even bother to review. This feels pretty baffling now, but I could see the logic at the time. Microsoft was trying as hard as they could to make the Kinect a huge thing with casual gamers. I mean, it was being shoved down our throat like crazy in 2012. And having a Conan segment could have helped with that. Or at least, that was my theory. Turns out this segment was sponsored by a Nokia phone, so I guess I'm just confused all over again. Anyway, like most early Clueless Gamers, it's really short, about 4 minutes, and while it's a fun enough watch, the dynamic with Aaron isn't really locked in yet. There's no gameplay to explain, no complex lore to break down. This was a bad game, mostly made for people who don't play video games, and they wrung comedy out of it where they could. And maybe because Conan didn't want to have to use a controller, they stuck with Kinect for the next segment, on Star Wars Kinect, a game now mostly remembered for the Han Solo dancing stuff. Oh, and this was the last game published directly by LucasArts before the Disney buyout, by the way. Anyway, this one is more engaging. Conan is familiar enough with Star Wars, and the game itself is so goofy that it lends itself to the show a lot better, I think. But it was really in the third segment, when they had fans vote on what game he played, that Clueless Gamer truly came into its own, with the summer of 2012's Minecraft review.
So follow me over here, we're gonna get some wood, all right? So
Follow me.
They put no effort into the graphics. This looks like a world if you have glaucoma.
Almost all the ingredients are finally here, including Conan's tortured relationship with video game controllers, and Aaron trying to explain the most basic aspects of the game while Conan acts like he's being forced to take an AP physics exam. This one is a massive step up. It's just Conan, Aaron, and a game that everyone wanted to see them play. And of course, it hit YouTube at the exact perfect time for a Minecraft review and did much, much better numbers than the games he'd covered before. After this, it was off to the races. Now, they'd mostly switched to getting sponsored by the games themselves, with some rare exceptions. That's just part of the Clueless Gamer thing. But at least for a while, they understood what kind of games people wanted to see the pair play. Resident Evil 6 lent itself to his absolute inability to control characters in just about anything. The Skyrim video is one of their best, as Conan has his first RPG experience, in a game that accommodates doing whatever weird thing he feels like doing, and finding out the penalty for killing chickens just like the rest of us.
What's that? Oh, there's some chickens.
Let's get these chickens.
Oh, wait, turn around.
Getting me.
Oh, it's that guy. Oh no, it's a guard.
Halo 4 gives us one of the best recurring bits where Aaron has to explain video game lore to Conan as he sits baffled and annoyed.
Basically, there's this alien race called the Covenant who is at war with humanity, who is actually having a civil war with itself between the inner and outer colonies.
But honestly, I think it's Tomb Raider that shines the brightest in this very early run. That game has you die in incredibly gruesome ways straight from the start, and Conan can't believe how ridiculously violent it is. Honestly, if I had to pick a favorite, this might still be it. The hits would keep coming from there. GTA 5, old Atari games, Watch Dogs. Conan does my guy Marth dirty in the Smash Brothers review by comparing him to Jared Leto. This whole era is the show's golden age. The formula never changed much, but it was solid to great every time. It was funny, but it was also really interesting to see a lot of games from the perspective of someone who just has zero context for them. Then, something changed. In January 2015, the show released an episode where he played Mortal Kombat with football players Gronk and Marshawn Lynch. And look, nothing against these guys, it's fine. I really like when they argue about Mario Kart as Conan looks on confused, but this started a trend that I think a lot of us got pretty sick of. Segments with little to no Aaron, mostly focused on the celebs. Aaron-only episodes still existed, like the Great Witcher 3 and Fallout 4 videos, but more and more it would be Conan and someone random. Like, come on, I cannot be the only one who doesn't want to see Conan hang out with Conor McGregor. It's just not nearly as entertaining. The promotional tie-ins really hit the next level as well, like the segment promoting Overwatch was also promoting Game of Thrones for some reason. To paraphrase George Lucas talking about Jar Jar, Aaron is the key to all this. He's clearly engaged and knowledgeable about these games, and it's his passion and Conan's goofy bullying that really made Clueless Gamer click. Now, I don't mind, like, Tony Hawk being there, but when it starts to take over the show, that's a problem. Now, there were still highlights in these celeb episodes, and guests like Bill Hader were a good pairing, but it wasn't the same. And the main Aaron episodes were still enjoyable, but by 2015 or 2016, you could basically predict exactly what a Clueless Gamer video was going to be. Conan would be confused by the controls, he'd say something horny about a female character, Aaron would sigh, there'd be a plot point that sounds super nerdy and makes no sense without context. The celebrity guests would either be really good at games and make Conan look even worse, or really bad and it would be kind of awkward for everyone. I will say, it was really funny just how mean Conan was about Final Fantasy to Elijah Wood, to the point where he actually seemed to get under fans' skin online. Apparently in 2017, TBS decided to try to expand the format into a standalone series, but with no Conan, just different celebrities playing games badly based on the Clueless Gamer format. It was announced with a lot of fanfare and then quietly disappeared without ever actually being produced. Which makes sense. Despite being a very easy marketing move, the format doesn't really work without him. What makes Clueless Gamer work isn't that a guy is bad at video games, it's that this specific guy, who is incredibly good at riffing on anything you throw at him, was bad at video games. And he was able to overcome how these were basically ads for the games by just not caring about them, or by extension their corporate owners, and just reacting to whatever was put in front of him. Something that really helped it feel genuine. You can't get that chemistry with a different host, and you definitely can't replicate the dynamic of Conan and Aaron just by hiring new people to do the same thing. I think those plans are why TBS pushed the celebs so hard in the later days of Conan's run. When it fell through, and Conan's show was getting shorter around the same time, segments became few and far between. Thankfully, after he left TBS, Clueless Gamer seemed to revert back to its former self. A new era kicked off in 2022 with him jumping between a few different games, like A Plague Tale and Power Wash Simulator, but after that, things more or less embraced the old formula. The Starfield video was great, but the highlight here has definitely been Death Stranding, a longer one for the segment, and where Conan gets to see himself fully voice acted in the game.
The otter's a member of the weasel family. I have weasels in my family, but enough about my brother.
The show is more infrequent now, but it's definitely still very funny when it happens. In the Borderlands 4 video, we see the game crash on them, and it's always fun to see Conan react to and weigh in on stuff that people get really upset about in gaming circles, while he's just completely ignorant of all of that. That's where Clueless Gamer is today. Not dead, not regularly produced, just existing in this weird space where it can show up whenever it wants to, and people will still watch it because the core of what made it work is still intact. Conan seems to have no more interest in gaming than he did at the start of all this, and there's a lot of fun to be had with a guy who never wanted to play these things in the first place. Clueless Gamer, at its best, was just two people and a camera crew in a very nondescript room. It's one of the best remembered things Conan did in the TBS era, despite not feeling like the old talk show format at all. Conan's podcast now is obviously a lot more stripped down than a late night talk show could ever be, and I have to wonder how much the confidence he had to do that came from seeing how well these segments could do, with a basic setup and a very low-key idea. I hope they get around to making more, but I'm also fine with them just releasing one when they feel like they have something that really warrants it. I'm not sure there's many surprises left in Clueless Gamer, but like an old friend, I'm always happy to see it turn up again. So, admit it, we've all done it. You're bored, you Google your own name, scroll down, and for some reason, all your info is just there. And that's the tip of the iceberg. Believe me, someone opening a credit card in my name over Christmas was definitely not the most fun way to learn just how much of my personal data is floating around out there. Data brokers collect where you live, your phone number, even your photos, and then sell that info to anyone with a little cash. And it's not just you they're scooping up. When they've got your data, they usually have details on your family too. That's why I loved signing up for Delete Me, the sponsor of this week's video. It's honestly been such a relief. It removes your data from hundreds of data broker sites, and seeing the report of how much of my info they've actually yanked down was incredibly satisfying. I'm honestly looking forward to getting more and more of these reports, because it always feels like at least someone out there is looking out for you. If you care about your privacy or your family's, this is the kind of thing you can't really afford to ignore. I trust Delete Me because it actually does what it says. Right now, Cap viewers can join and get 20% off all consumer plans, and if you want to protect your whole family, they offer family plans too. Head to joindeleteme.com/captainmidnight and use code captainmidnight, all one word, at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/captainmidnight, code captainmidnight.
Here's a special tip for the fellas and girls who have not already joined Captain Midnight's new 1940 Flight Patrol. You'd better hurry up and join at once because there's a big adventure ahead. The thing to do now is to get started because we're going to have not only barrels of fun, but loads of free gifts and prizes too.